It is week 24. I can't believe I've been making these videos for 24 weeks, but here we are. It is, I think it's the last week in September. Maybe next week's the last week in September. No, this is the last week of September. And the garden is definitely looking September-y. We have the radish patch. Penny has taken to napping back there and walking through there, so there's a couple of holes, but on the whole, the radishes have filled out a bunch. Looking pretty good. A whole bunch of different, I think there's 5 different varieties of radish in here. There's hundreds of seeds. Definitely not hundreds of plants. Maybe though. 10, 20, 30. Nah, not hundreds of plants, but either way, I think we have a good 3 weeks or so until these are ready, at least. I think, if I remember, the average growing time for these was like 25 days, but the last time the radishes took way longer than that, so I'm kind of banking on at least a month. But yeah, radishes are looking good. And then over there, the bigger plants, 1, 2, 3, there might be another one, are cabbage. They probably need to be thinned, but I'm not going to. We'll see what happens. They're supposed to be cold hardy, so hopefully they'll just keep growing. But I actually just, when I was out here a couple minutes ago, rearranged that area because this tomato plant, which is a cherry tomato plant, that goes from here, well actually the stem, yeah, the original cage for it is actually over there, and it's grown up and around this second cage and up this entire, it's not even a stake, it's a garden decoration at every purpose because I ran out of stakes. It's massive. It's not as productive as the other one, but it's massive. And it's been knocking over every cage I put it on, so I finally tried to sort of give it some structure over there with a brick. We'll see if that works, but it was sort of laying over all of these cabbage plants in this whole sort of patchy area here. So I'm hoping now that that will stay up there, and then that'll give that some breathing room. Then over here we have broccoli. I noticed, yep, and I see them now. Yesterday when I was out here, this was the safe plant. There were no bug issues, but now I see at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 moth worm things. So I've kind of given up actually on, and there's the culprit. Look how big that guy is. That's disgusting. I've kind of given up on the broccoli, to be honest. There's literally no signs of, broccoli florets coming out of this, and I'm out of spray, so I think I'm just gonna let nature take its course on this and see what happens. I mean, these have been planted and growing for a really long time, and there's still no sign of anything other than bugs. So I'm just leaving them, and we'll see what happens. Normally when I decide to give up on something, that's when it decides to come to life, so maybe that'll work this time. Then over here we have my 1 bell pepper that's left, and it's actually red now and ready to pick. I'm waiting until I'm ready to eat it because every time I pick one, it starts to basically rot and go bad within a day. So I'm leaving that there until I'm ready, and it's nice and red now, so it's good to go. And there's actually, because of this crazy warm weather, I think, some flowers on here. So there is actually a chance of maybe getting some more peppers out of this plant. I'd be surprised just because the temperatures will probably start to drop, but then again, who expected 90-degree temperatures in late September? So maybe, who knows, fingers crossed, I'll get an extra pepper out of this one or 2. Then while I'm down here we have carrots. So these are, I'm pretty sure, Scarlet Nance or Nantes or Scarlet somethings, and they're looking pretty good. Like, these look way better, way faster than my old, or my first set of carrots did, so I don't know, hopefully those will work out. I'm pretty sure, I just looked at my spreadsheet the other day, and I'm pretty sure the carrots will be ready the 3rd week of October, I think. So, I mean, they have a long way to go, but, well, I guess they have 3 weeks to go, but they're looking pretty good. And then back here we have the radicchio, still growing. That's also one that's supposed to be ready mid to end of October. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on this one and using that as my sort of guiding light into what's going on here because it looks the most like it's supposed to. The rest of them look more like lettuce, to be honest. But that's the radicchio I'm counting on. And there's a bunch more back there. More tomatoes. I already talked about this plant. I've been picking about, I want to say 2 dozen tomatoes a day. Cherry tomatoes, so like nothing crazy, but at a minimum, 2 dozen cherry tomatoes a day, every day for the last couple weeks. It's insane. This plant is a mess. Like, I can't even figure out where the stems go or anything like that. I've just sort of tied it up wherever I could to keep it off the ground. And it's not nearly as orderly or productive as the other plant, I think, because it's been so chaotic over here. But it's still producing tons, and I probably just picked a dozen tomatoes off of this like 5 minutes ago. And let's see, this is supposed to be spinach down here. I do see some little spinach babies, but it's been way too hot. I'm pretty sure those aren't gonna survive. And those are weeds that I need to deal with. Cucumbers, it's just been really hot, and when it's not hot, it's been rainy. It's been really weird weather, so they're still there. Oddly enough, there's a new cucumber that wasn't there. This little area has come to life and produced a new cucumber, so that's interesting. Oh, actually, I'm pretty sure since last week there's no corn here. This is where the corn was. I'm pretty sure I cut that down after the video last week. So, I don't know if you can see it, but right there, I think the other two fell actually, but right there on the other side I made like little corn bunches, and it's tied up as like a decoration on the other side of the fence now. But I didn't really tie up the other two very well, and it looks like they fell over, but that one's there, so there's a little decoration. And there's no more corn here, which is, so I guess this is all new from last week, because the corn was, or the tomatoes were actually grown into the corn, and I had to untangle them all. And this corn is actually, this tomato is actually even taller than that tomato over there. This tomato is probably almost as tall as the corn was, interestingly enough. That's probably a good 9 feet, I'd guess. Maybe more. And that's not even pulled up straight. That's just, I stuck whatever I could and tied it to this, it was a little bicycle wind thing. It's now a tomato stake, but anyway, that's that section. Over here, I picked an eggplant, the big kahuna that was there. I picked it on Friday. It became eggplant parm. And I think I counted at that point there were 5 more on here. Let's see if I can find them. I know there's one here. There's one right through there. There's one over there. Oh, I just hit one. There's a little baby. I think there's another one over there, and I think that's the 5. But there's a lot going on over here. Oh no, there's 2 over here. So those eggplants are still going. This plant is way too heavy and I'm out of stakes, but that's okay. It's kind of sitting in my scallion pot, so that works out well. Then over to here, this mess, I don't know what prompted this, but this mess is tomatoes. I put a couple of plants in here, like just jammed them in when I was pruning, and nothing happened, and then all of a sudden it exploded, and there's tons of flowers on them. I've actually seen there's a tomato there. So these are actually my San Marzanos that haven't been doing well over there. Oddly enough, they're growing over here. And then I see a bunch of cherry tomatoes there and little babies in there. They're not as big as these plants, but they're still, I mean, they're growing, so that's cool. The kale is still massive. The Brussels sprout is still hiding. The pumpkins have grown actually and started to flower. So this plant is doing the best here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 flowers on it, and then a couple that were huge and open yesterday. It was really cool. I actually should have taken a picture. I don't have a lot of luck with squash plants, so I don't really have high hopes for this, but there's flowers on it, and that's progress. Then again, every time I get really big flowers, I get a bug, and it eats them, and they die. So, I don't know. And I also don't know if they've pollinated or what, but hey, they're there. They're growing. Maybe, just maybe I'll have one for Halloween. If not, maybe, just maybe I'll have one for Thanksgiving. Then there's more radicchio here. They're doing okay, getting bigger. I've picked, I think there's only 1 tomato left on this plant here. that one. Everyone else was ripe enough, and as soon as this one is ready, this plant's out of here. It's just so annoying. It's all crappy and never really produced well. So once that tomato is ready, it's out. And then this guy just doesn't even stay up anymore. It's growing on the grass. I can't even mow the lawn under here because there's just so many tomatoes. Look at this. It's insane. And they just go and go and go and go. And there's more here, and they go all the way up here. And then there's more on the other side. It's insane. Like, I don't even know. So, yeah, this used to grow up, and now it's starting to do this. And I don't have any way to deal with it anymore. So it's just gonna do that. And it's even starting to knock over the cage. This one's also so heavy. Good thing the stake is also starting to tip because there's so much weight on these plants. But I may try and experiment with getting them upright again, but I also don't want to shake off the tomatoes. So we'll see. We'll see. Then in here, last week we had the great disgusting bug infestation of, well, last Wednesday. Those caterpillars were freaking massive. And I think so after I ended the video, got myself together, and I came out here, and I started to address the bugs, and there were at least 6 of them, and they were huge bugs. And they had like antennae that were, oh my god, it was disgusting. I don't think there's any more. I haven't seen any. It took me like 2 days to find them all, but I'm pretty sure they're all gone now. And the celery is looking okay. I don't see any real damage. It's been really, really warm, which isn't great for celery, but I don't see many problems. It has slowed down a little bit, and they definitely did eat some leaves, but I think we're okay. I think. On the other hand, the broccoli is still having issues. Like you could see, someone was in here snacking and pooping. And there's eggs and gross, ugh, disgusting. This one's just eaten to death. It's just not looking so hot. So again, with the broccoli, just letting nature take its course, and if it produces broccoli, awesome. If not, I might just plant it a little bit earlier next year. We'll see, and maybe fewer of them and with more space and not on top of each other. I just think there's just too much attraction for all those bugs or the moths to come in and plant their eggs when they're all together. So I think I'm just going to do them separate next year. Like one plant and then 20 feet in another plant. But yeah, I mean, this is a huge plant. I just don't know why it hasn't produced, but it's not, and I'm kind of over all the worms. It's really gross. Then we're down to the carrots, and oh, well, that is my volunteer Snow Pea, and I accidentally weed whacked it yesterday when I was mowing the lawn, so I might have killed it. I might have. I'm not sure. I actually forgot it was there, to be honest, and then when I was weed whacking it, it got caught, and now I'm pretty sure it's dead. Anyway, down here we have more carrots and bunching onions. These aren't getting a ton of light, which worries me, and the same is true for the beets, which are hidden over there, which is part of why I'm thinking of yanking out one of these broccoli plants. It's just not producing, and I'd rather get the beets than have an extra broccoli plant that is, see, there's worms on it. So I'm not entirely sure. I feel bad. I always hate pulling out a plant, and normally I'll replant it somewhere else, but these are just huge, and I can't put them in a pot. I have nowhere else to put them. So I think I might bite the bullet and just pull one out so that it just frees up. This whole area is just not getting enough light down there. Like, there's beets down there, there's carrots, there's tons of carrots in here actually. There's a Brussels sprout over there. There's just tons growing down there, and this whole canopy of broccoli, tomatoes that are overgrown, and eggplants that are overgrown. This eggplant is almost my height now. It's so big, and they've been really productive except for these, so I might just bite the bullet and yank it out, but we'll see. I hate giving up that quickly. While we're down here, let's have a look. There's a Brussels sprout in there, or Brussels sprout plant rather. Tons of carrots. They're not doing as well because they're not getting enough sun. And oh my god, is there a worm on me? No, it was close. Who else? I don't see any more eggplants growing on this one. So actually, I did say I was going to give it a week, and it looks like most of the flowers that were on here died off before they were pollinated. So I might actually pull out an eggplant plant, or maybe prune it back or something to free up some space. Because I really don't see. I know there's an eggplant on that plant over there. You can kind of see it in there. But I don't think there's one on here. So this might go, or be pruned. Pruning might be a better option. We'll try that. And then over here, this also needs to go, which is the last of the cucumber plants. And that's it for this area, I think. Oops. Let's just pop over here and see what's up with the pots. The cilantro's definitely slowed down. That I didn't plant. It's just in there. That was a cilantro plant, and then I picked it all. And maybe some of it went to seed, or maybe one of the seeds finally came to life. But yeah, there's a random cilantro growing in there, and it's growing better than this plant, interestingly enough. The strawberries have slowed down a ton in the last week. I've probably in 2 or 3, 4 maybe. But it's still producing, but they're way, way slower than they were. I think it's finally almost time. I mean, there's still flowers and stuff on here, and ooh, you look good. These guys are doing all right, but it's not as speedy as it was, like even 2 weeks ago. I did, however, take a stake. I can't remember what plant I stole it from, but this raspberry was getting really, really leany, and I was actually stabbing myself a lot as I walked by. So I took a stake and staked up the long one. I'm still waiting on one more for this one, but this one's at least staked and will be ready for next year. And what else? Everything else over here is kind of done. Obviously, just letting those fall in, as I've mentioned, and pretty sure this pepper plant is done too, so that's it. The garlic, due to a lack of communication, the pot has been repurposed for a mum, accidentally. So that was garlic, now it's a mum, unfortunately. So garlic is done, but that's it. Oh, I guess there's these guys. My string beans, I think these were. I don't see anyone on here. Oh, look, a string bean. I have a string bean. 2 string beans. It's slow growing. Oh, you don't look like string beans. What the heck kind of... That doesn't look like string beans at all. Those look like peas. Anyway, that's what's going on. It is now... Oh, I guess I forgot the most important piece, which is the strawberries for next year. So the top 2 are doing okay. This bottom one is not looking as awesome. The plants are definitely a little more stressed down there, and I'm not entirely sure why. I've been making sure it's getting water, and it's getting sun, and they all have the same amount of fertilizer, etc., in it. I don't know if maybe the plants were just less hardy to begin with, or what. Because this guy over here is doing fine. So maybe they've just gone dormant already. That's also totally possible. I don't know, but there's 2 of one variety and 1 of another variety. I'm pretty sure this top one is the bigger strawberry variety, which are the ones that look like the nice strawberries that are showing before. Let's see if I can, like, these guys. I'm pretty sure this top one is those, and then the bottom 2 are the little baby strawberries. So if that's the case, then that's okay, because I have 2 of those. I'm hoping that that's not the top plant, because I do only have 1 of those. Or rather, the big strawberry plant. But generally, they're all looking good except for that bottom one. I think there's actually... Yeah, that bottom one is also doing fine back there. So it could just be a fluke. Could just be shock. We're going to let it go. And, I mean, there's still green leaves and stuff, and I think I see new leaves appearing in there. So it's not all lost. But... And that guy got really big since last week. So I think it's working. And that's it. So 6 months in, This is what the garden looks like. Not bad. It definitely looks like a mess because it's between seasons and a lot of this needs to be cleaned out and stuff. But I'm pretty happy with it. It's been abundant in some places and terrible in others, but I've learned a lot about what I want to do next year and just better placement of things, better cycling of things. I learned a lot about bugs. A lot. Way more than I'd ever want to know about garden bugs. But I had my fair share of them, so lessons learned for next year. I've also learned that tomatoes take up way more space than I ever imagined. And that's it. So for next week, hopefully, I'll actually have taken down that cucumber, and I'll have taken down maybe one of the broccoli plants or pruned it back, and same for one of the eggplants. And I think that's about it. Everyone else is just growing away. There's nothing really to plant yet. Maybe, fingers crossed, I'll have a little baby pumpkin on there. Something will have pollinated and started to produce a pumpkin. Because it will take some time. I'm guessing it'll take a couple weeks for a pumpkin to get a decent size. So if I want one for Halloween, it definitely needs to start growing soon. But that's it. So, see you next week.